Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us right here on Amka Kenya. You are watching Amka Vibe Check, and today we highlight a conversation that is surrounding men's emotions, their processes for that matter, and how it is for them in this existence, in this 21st century. And I'm happy that my panel comprises of only men, because they are best to speak on their own issues, and we wouldn't want someone to feel as if they've not articulated, or for you at home to feel you're not well represented for that matter. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. And like I mentioned, our topic today is about emotions, men emotions, their experiences in this 21st century. And I want to introduce my guest this morning. I have with me Dr. James Karau. He is a Dean of Students at Machakos University. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today?
No, I'm feeling great.
You good?
Because of the topic and being with my fellow men.
Amazing.
I can't wait to discuss about many issues.
Exactly. I'm happy you're here for us to do this.
Yeah.
Right. And also in studio, I do have with me Rick Thogo. Now, Rick is a dating coach and he's also a digital content creator. Thank you so much for being here, Rick.
Always
once
a pleasure. I enjoy myself as always. I look forward to this conversation because we talk about this in one way or another. So
yes.
I'm excited.
Amazing. And also I have with me in studio Tom Musembi. He's a digital creator and a media personality. Tom, thank you for being here today.
Asante sana.
Uko salama?
Kabisa, kabisa.
Amazing. Right, so I want to start from here, okay? There are very many aspects or ways we can take this conversation, but I want it to be authentic. And like I said, I don't want to insinuate things. I want you guys to say it in the way that you've said it authentically before when you've been here. Like Tommy has spoken about settling for less because love ni nini.
A beautiful thing.
Rick here has given his real life experiences of dating crazy in uni, but because of those experiences,
we are here now.
We are here now. So what is the experience of being a young man in this existence, 21st century?
It's very confusing, first and foremost. For the most part, a lot of guys don't know what to do with themselves, their emotions, who they are, and it's hard to try and navigate that space because the influences that are there, the ones that have a lot of platform, they're very toxic. They operate from a place of insecurity, and over time you operate in those spaces, you get to see how empty that is. So for a young man trying to chart a path where you're trying to be authentic to yourself, trying to be real, just trying to live life that you're true to yourself, it's getting more difficult because we don't know how to go about it.
I see.
Yeah.
Tom, now one of the aspects is someone can look at you and say you're successful, you're doing great, you are a personality people know of. Same for you, Thogo. Same for you, Dr. James Karau. But it is not what it seems. Most of the time people are attracted to the thing, not the person.
Absolutely.
And how is that reality?
Well, first of all, like you say, just to look on what Mwalimu is saying, the pressure is too much, especially now we live in a, I usually call it the social media era, where everyone is expecting certain things from you, and now you have to act the part. Now, this is the part. Now you have to see the inside of what I present first. So before we get to that point, sometimes we call it pretense to get what you need in life. So as a man, you have to just wake up, put on the smile. They usually say, come on, a woman, no one is going to save you. You need to save yourself. So basically that applies to everything in life. So in this generation, Jamini,
Nguvu.
Yes.
Mbona maneno?
Nimeona maneno, nimesikia maneno, na niko sure bado nitaendelea kupatana na maneno. So yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So on hearing those aspects briefly,
Yeah.
Dr. James, what's your perspective?
I would say a man struggles between several things. Being who he really is, being authentic, being true to himself, and being who the society expects him to be. So striking that balance is not easy because we are all products of nature and nurture. How do you strike a balance? How do you strike the equilibrium? Because there's what you are created to be as a man. Even the way you express your emotions as a man. You have your masculinity lapped in you. And the masculinity in you, the man in you, is craving to be expressed authentically. But now here comes societal pressures societal expectations of how a man should be in 21st century, striking that balance is not easy. And many men get disappointed. They are struggling because there's the reality of who they really are, and there is the expectations. And the difference between the reality and the expectations, that's where the disappointment lie in. That's where the struggles and the frustrations of men lie in. So I really resonate with what they're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll ask both of you, but I'll begin with Rick. Did you find mentorship growing up from your father, a male figure? And if so, was it effective, in your opinion?
Fortunately, there were many positive influences. They are there. It's not loud. It's not ostentatious, and it's not always from the spaces that you may think, you know. But I'll be honest, a lot of the examples that we saw growing up were just things not to be. You know, you look at your uncles, you're like, man, I don't want to be you. Like, you look miserable. Like, you know.
Speaking of that, I remember growing up, ukiwa mtoto, ungetumwa sigara, and the shopkeeper is not even asking. Because you're a guy.
Exactly.
You're a man, you know. Like,
Oh, you're a little boy, but you're a dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like we end a letter. So we got to a point where some of my friends started buying it. Ile tu ku taste the waters, just to feel like, what are you guys feeling? Like, hakuna examples vizuri tulikuwa nasetiwa as kids, because you find like the pubs are there, tunaenda kucheza draft na watu wazee. It's like the examples that were being showed, or the things that were being taught as young men, ni kuwa mtu mkubwa, ni kufanya certain things. Unanipata? And then unapata even like having one woman, you get to a point where you feel like unakuonyesha like this is not it. You get like an example in campus. Ukiwa na demu moja ilikuwa feel ni kama you're missing out on something. In this society, you find that when you settle down earlier, like for example, I was asking him, uko na demu? Ina feel ni kama it's like you're attacking someone mwenye uko na demu moja. Unaelewa sasa? Like expectations of society na reality are two different things.
Yeah.
You go to campus expecting things are going to be okay. Nilijuanga kuinama lunch ni nini nikiwa campus. I never thought these are the things I'm going to face. Nikiwa huko, you study hard expecting you go to campus things are going to be okay. Like there's a small challenges you face and you realize that heri uiname lunch msupa wako akule. Unanipata sasa? So these are just the examples you realize that, you know, the more you grow up, you realize I'd rather just ningebaki huko shule nikiwa mtoto jamani.
That's so true, because like even the examples that we're taught of love for men, it's one that requires us to sacrifice ourselves. You get?
Yeah.
Like there's no, you see the thing about it is like as a guy, there's no space for how you feel from the get-go.
Self-care, you mean?
Just leave alone care. You have to acknowledge to be able to find out what you need so you can care. But even space to acknowledge how you feel, wapi, you know, and then it bottles up, and now guys are confused. You know, for the most part, a lot of guys, by the way, they try to manage it healthily, you know.
Yeah.
But what that turns into is we have a suicide epidemic. People are really like, you know what I mean?
Speaking on that fact, you find that, for example, in campus, unapata mambo imekuwa ngumu nyumbani. So where do you run to? TAE. Unanipata? Drugs here and there, women, and you need something to keep you off of the reality.
The reality of what is
more
happening.
available than a support system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, having heard that, and you do mentorship programs,
Yeah.
and it's been for years now,
Yeah.
the Man Enough program with Pastor Simon Bevy,
Yeah.
I want you to be able to articulate now those processes, because it's true, even as a young girl, growing up, you're seeing the way your brothers are treated. It's more like, kuja, tuende na wewe. Like even if it's an uncle or maybe dad or whoever, like they take your bro to those places where like he's going to grow into a man.
Yeah.
And what is growing into a man, like they've rightfully said, maybe you're taking them to a pub, telling them, hey, jabama ako sa zingine akikwanga hivi huwa nampanga.
Yeah.
Like that, and he comes and says, hey, like, Uncle so and so mjomba alikuwa nasema, you know, so
Yeah.
I want you to paint the reality.
Yeah, the reality at
Yeah.
hand. And it's good to understand the man, especially in the 21st century. Where is he coming from? And I agree with Licky and Tom that it all starts from home. Many men would rather not like be their, they would rather not be like their father or the male figures, be it uncles or other men in the society, because whatever they saw was not really very good. Whatever they saw in their father. There are very few men today who would say, I would want to become like my father. they will say, my father is a role model. There are very few men, I would imagine, many men who have come to me, who have mentored and who are struggling. Many of them run away from that father figure image, whoever modeled that, because they were not well modeled. Even me, I lost my mom and I went to stay with my grandma many years ago. I lost my mom when I was 6 years old. And I was living with my uncles, and some of the models that they projected to me were not good models at all.
What models? How are they? What kind of models?
First of all, they were relating with their wives, beating them. The way they were maybe taking advantage of other women. The way they were abusing alcohol. I have those memories, childhood memories. It's not something I would like to be, because they never delivered. The end product was not good. When I look at their lives today, I would say that model doesn't work. And we live in that society whereby many men, our fathers, the fathers of today, are not playing their rightful role. They are even abandoning their family. So the boy child is left in a situation whereby I don't have a good model. I don't want to become like my father. But there's good news, because there are still some few fathers, that there are remnants who have modeled fatherhood in the right way. But the challenge is with the boy child, such fathers are very few. Not only at home, but even in the society. Not just modeling a good father, but be a good man. So this man of today is coming from that background, that he has had a situation whereby either he was unfathered, underfathered, or misfathered, or you have abusive fathers. We also have fathers who are present in our lives, but they are passive fathers. They don't really show the way. They don't really guide. So the boy child is coming from that. Then he comes in and tries to fit in another template, whereby the society is saying, I mean, to be a cool dude, you've got to maybe have some girlfriends, not just one. You've got to abuse liquor, so that when you hang around with that crowd on campus, if you have never tasted beer, or you don't even drink beer, you look like mshamba. You know, you look like or in a gani. And of course, that's a wrong model. But the reality of the matter is, the boy child is under pressure to conform to a certain template that doesn't really resonate very well from what he feels from inside. So he's trying to strike a balance by engaging in a very negative or destructive coping mechanism, in immorality, doing many girls, in alcohol, in drugs, name it, all sorts of things. But those are just coping mechanisms. There's a cry, a desperate cry in this boy child, wanting to be his real himself, but he's under pressure to be different.
So you've mentioned something important, and I'd like to take that and highlight it, you guys to do that. Being a good man has so many connotations, and I want you to give me your understanding of what that means from where you sit.
Okay. There's what a good man has been preached to me, and then there's what a good man is according to what I've learned for myself, What a good man was preached to me to be was a man who showed up, in many ways, but unfortunately at the cost of himself, That model for a good man these days doesn't accommodate a man who is struggling, that saying that your family, they would rather watch you pass away on that white horse than you come down and say you need help. They would rather preserve that memory of you as this person who was strong, And it's like, that strength does not exist without you feeling like I need help sometimes. Sometimes I'm struggling, because we are human beings, What I've come to learn masculinity is, it is in the ability to run the race, taking care of me so that I can run the distance, so that I can be everything I need to be for myself, and from that it can grow outward.
And how does taking care of you look like?
Showing up for me mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, genuinely, in every way, shape or form, learning how it is that I communicate from that deep level, learning how to listen to that, learning how to respond to that, and creating a system and structure that accommodates me as a human being, regardless of whatever it is I'm going through.
All right, Tom.
Just to work on what Mwalimu is continuing to say. A good man, or just to say a man, you need to be able to provide, you need to be able to be spiritually, how can I say, a spiritual example to society. You need to be able to be someone who everyone can look up to, an example to your family members, to your friend, For you to achieve that, you need to be, like he said, you need to be able to feel that from within. You need to be able to have actually put yourself in a place where you're mentally okay first. You need to come first before everyone else. That's what I usually say. An uncle of mine told me when I finished campus, enda ujijenge, wachana black tax. Kiweza hata, avoid kila mtu, hata change number. So that you can be able to bring something back home when you're ready.
Oh, I see.
It's like, because I also have friends. Unapata, msema malza campus, tulikusomesha. Now, the moment unapata your job, kama ni 20,000, 15,000, they don't care. It's like, we need to see something home. Nunua ifanya hii, leta hii. So you find that this person at the end of the day, like 4 or 5 years down the line, or even 10 years, doesn't have a wife, doesn't have a family, doesn't have anything to show for. But the family back home is still asking for more. So now, like, for you to be able to be in a position where you can be able to provide, be a man, where, like, the way society wants you to be a man or expects you to be a man, you need to be able to say, now, I put myself first. I have to be selfish, number one, so that I can get to a point where I'm able to do something for other people.
Yeah.
Because if I sacrifice that, as he said, it means I'm not in a position to be able to help anyone else. I'm not in a position to be able to become a man in society who can be looked upon.
Exactly.
Hence the reason why I feel sometimes you feel like there's so much pressure to become a man, you get to a point where you lose yourself. Hence the reason why you find you have an uncle who is rich. Akona gari, akona pesa, akona wife, akona, yeah, like the family is good. But deep down, the guy is really struggling. But
and he's not content.
Exactly.
Yeah, and everyone else on the outside sees it's content. So just hold on to that. Yeah. They've mentioned something very important. The reason I was asking the definition of a good man is because I want to go to the aspect of culture. Yeah. Culture informs a lot on how even young men are brought up. You know, like in our culture, men do this, in our culture, men do that. Even to the point where you bringing a woman home. Ni wa wapi uko kwao unajua kwetu hatu, you know, and then you see most of the time with these young men you see that they're not told those things. You just find that they've brought a chick and they're like kuku kwetu hapana. Not her, we want you to date from our tribe or this particular woman or this, right? So I want you to elaborate especially those aspects and the challenging part of that.
The society tends to misdefine man in terms of what he does, maybe the occupation, what he has, and who he knows. And when you look at the greatest men of all time, men are remembered for maybe two things, the good things they did or the bad things they did. And let's focus on the good things, that the men who have been remembered for the good things. It's not really how much they owned or who they knew that made them maybe become very great. And when cultures are studied, there are certain variables that define who is a real man, cross-generational and even across the race, name it, across the space. And what I would say is a real man. 5 things I would say is a real man. 1, a real man is proactive. He takes initiative. When there are problems, he just doesn't just cower down. He's not passive. He takes initiative. He is proactive. Then a real man or a true man is responsible. He lives responsibly. It's how Winston Churchill said, the price of greatness is responsibility. How responsible are you in your own life? And thirdly, a true man leads sacrificially. He leads sacrificially, be it at home, be it in his life, or be it in his area of jurisdiction. A true man leads sacrificially. The greatest of all men are men who lived sacrificially. And number 4, a true man loves faithfully. He loves faithfully. Be it his girlfriend, his wife, his children, his society, he loves faithfully. And last but not least, a true man leaves a worthy legacy. It matters what legacy are you leaving behind. It's not so much what you're going to leave other people with in terms of wealth, but what are you leaving in them in terms of values. At the end of the day, a true man is reflected by what he models in terms of values.
So what about culture, the things that now you can control?
Very good.
And it's still happening, whether we think it's backward or not.
Yeah.
It's still...
Generally, there are some societal cultures, there are some values that are in our culture that mean well. But of course, there are other bad values that don't mean well, that contradict what is right, what ought to be done. And what a true man does is to challenge those cultural values that are backward, that are inhuman, that are degrading, and support the cultural values. Or, you know, culture is dynamic. culture is dynamic. Culture keeps on changing. So we can start a new thing that becomes our culture. So it's upon us to leave those cultural values that are backward, that are inhuman, that are degrading morality, so to say, and try to cultivate culture or cultural values that are respectful, that are progressive, as opposed to the retrogressive cultural values.
But like, to be honest, right? There's something that is very distinguishably different between you guys, when I say you guys, like that generation and ours, because our culture is digital. You get? We have a way we think as a group of people born at a certain time existing in a digital space. There are things we say, there are things we do, there are things we believe, there are jokes, there are, you know. But it's not shaped by like this predetermined, no, it's just people vibing. You get? That's us now, you know, and I say that because we talk about those things that a man should be, right? I'm like, the modern day man is struggling, he's drowning. What do you mean great man? Like, ata says pumua, like, what do you mean greatness? Where? Like,
you know, you're leaving a legacy, you're doing this. But you guy, bana, a man without money, ata ukue responsible, unaamka asubuhi 6 in the morning. If you do not have money in this generation of ours,
you
I don't know,
cannot
man,
be that man.
There is nothing you can tell anyone. You can't even advise me. You can be the most educated man in the room, but that person with money is going to call the shots.
Oh, I see. So it all depends on how you're perceived. It doesn't matter whether you have morals or... It's a thing of like
Onasemanga, the end justifies the means. It does not matter. Hence the reason why we have a lot of girls or just tunaenda hapo. So like OF models, you get like tumeanza ku accept unasema akona do at least. You know, we're asking familia zao tu zinawachukulia aje. Unanielewa? So even men are like, you know, at the end of the day, I can even be with someone who's doing that as long as we have the money. Because no one is going to ask me anything. Okay, that's just besides the point, but...
For you to, and it's exactly what he's saying, right? In the sense that everything that those roles entail require material things that people don't have the opportunity to attain. You get? And what's happening is like, do you mean I cannot be a real man were I not to have these possessions? You get? And it's like, how do I become that man in where I'm at with absolutely nothing, just me and myself? How do I become that great man in my own small context? You know,
I'd like to chip in and ask at this point in time, some of the greatest men who have ever lived, even in our context, be it in Kenya or Africa, if you give me some names, I would ask you, were they even the richest? Were they even in the Forbes list of the richest in Africa? Let's be honest.
For example,
some of the most celebrated men in the world, in the history of mankind, I don't think they made it to the Forbes list.
That's
for
true.
example.
But but let's be honest, right? We have to be honest about one thing, right? There's a threshold where you reach in terms of economic stability, right? You don't have to be the richest person in the room. You just have to make enough money, right, to be able to fulfill these things. A lot of the people we're talking to right now, most of them fall beneath the poverty line. You get? Hapo ndo mali wako. We're not talking about Forbes 100. We're talking about, can I pay my rent? Can I eat my food? You know.
And secondly, Lick, I want to say something. What needed for us money and clean money? Values, good values, integrity has a way of following.
After you get the money.
I think their whole issue or perspective is it's not a matter of the values and the like. I think that's what they've been preached to, and that's what they know. You know, like with their eyes closed. The issue is we need to have these opportunities and money and the like, because even if we have all these values or so, we are being judged for not having these things. You know, that's why we can get, like he was saying, a girl, let's say, who is into some nefarious activities, and she's making money in a nefarious way, but they would be okay, a man would be okay to be with her because she's making money, you know, because they're arguing about the economy. So you see, I think the response is, what can a man do in this generation having that kind of reality? Not the ideal. What you're saying is ideal, but what they have is not. So hold on to that. Remember what I'm saying. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with this conversation. Stay with us.